The missile leaves Iranian soil at 2 a.m. and reaches Tel Aviv in 11 minutes. Israel's Iron Dome catches most of the salvo, but not all of it. By dawn, Israel has already launched its response, and Iran's air defense network is burning. This is the moment historians will point to. Not the first shot fired in the Middle East in decades, but the one that didn't stay contained. Iran's opening move is fast and asymmetric. 300 ballistic missiles and drones aimed at Israeli airbases, backed by Hezbollah rocket fire from the north. Israel's response is faster. Within 6 hours, Israeli jets have struck deep into Iranian territory, hitting nuclear enrichment sites and command bunkers that took a decade to build. Iran has no answer in the air. It has an answer in the water. The Strait of Hormuz closes within a day. Iranian fast attack boats and mines turn the 20-mile-wide choke point into a no-go zone, and with it, a fifth of the world's oil supply stops moving. Oil prices don't rise, they detonate, up 60% in under a week. Every economy on Earth feels this war within days, whether their country fired a shot or not. The United States commits a carrier strike group to reopen the strait, but geography is not on its side. The nearest carrier is 4 days out, and Iranian coastal missile batteries have had years to map every inch of those waters. The first American destroyer to enter the strait takes a hit from a shore-launched missile. It survives. The message doesn't. Saudi Arabia and the Gulf states now face an impossible choice. Back the American operation and become targets themselves, or stay neutral and watch their own oil exports strangled by the same closure. Saudi Arabia chooses to open its airspace to American operations. Within 2 days, a Saudi oil facility is hit by a drone swarm launched from Yemen, and the war has a second front nobody planned for. The Houthis close the Red Sea to commercial shipping entirely, not just to Israeli-linked vessels but to anyone flying a flag connected to the coalition. Container ships that once passed through the Suez Corridor in days now reroute around the entire African continent, adding 3 weeks and millions of dollars to every voyage. Global shipping insurance rates triple overnight, and ports from Rotterdam to Los Angeles start feeling a war fought 4,000 miles away. NATO doesn't invoke Article 5. This isn't an attack on a member state, but bases in Cyprus, Crete, and southern Italy go to a heightened alert status anyway. European fighter squadrons begin flying combat air patrols over the eastern Mediterranean for the first time in a generation, not to fight, but to make sure nobody mistakes an empty sky for an invitation. Russia sees an opportunity, not a crisis. Moscow accelerates arms shipments to Iran through the Caspian Corridor, air defense systems that could turn the skies over Tehran into a much harder fight for Israeli and American aircraft. It is not a declaration of war. It is enough to change the math on every side. China's move is quieter and more decisive. As the world's largest buyer of Iranian oil, Beijing has the most to lose from the closure and the most leverage to use. Chinese naval assets shadow American carriers in the Indian Ocean, not engaging, just present, a reminder that any wider war has a second superpower watching from the wings. In week 2, a moment nearly changes everything. An Iranian strike lands within 2 miles of Israel's Dimona reactor complex, almost certainly by accident, but for 6 tense hours nobody outside the room making the decisions knows that for certain. Israeli air defenses go to their highest alert status in the country's history. No further strikes come near the site again for the rest of the war, and neither side ever explains why. 3 weeks in, the numbers start to matter more than the headlines. Iran's ballistic missile stockpile, built over 20 years, is being spent at a rate that will empty it within 2 months. Israel's Iron Dome interceptors are being manufactured faster than ever, but still slower than they're being fired. The United States has surged 2 more carrier groups to the region, stretching naval readiness everywhere else on Earth dangerously thin. The strait reopens in week 5, not because either side backs down, but because the economic damage has become mutually unbearable. A fragile deconfliction line emerges, brokered quietly through Oman and Qatar, channels that never fully closed even as missiles flew overhead. Oil begins moving again, at a third of pre-war volume, under armed escort. Iran's government survives, battered and isolated, its nuclear program set back years but not eliminated. Israel has fought a war on 2 fronts and won both, at a cost in interceptors and infrastructure it will spend years rebuilding. The United States holds the strait, but has revealed just how thin its global naval presence really is when two theaters demand attention at once. Nobody calls it World War III. There was no formal declaration, no single enemy, no unconditional surrender. But a choke point that carries a fifth of the world's oil was shut for 5 weeks, two nuclear-adjacent states fought directly, and two superpowers moved their fleets within sight of each other without ever officially engaging. If that isn't a world war, what do you call the next one that gets the name right? Let me know what you think below, and subscribe for the next scenario.